I'm here with Brian Marshall and Brian Marshall Podcast. I am the co-host that's going to be with you today. And today we're interviewing Richard Essex from WDRB Fox 41 News. He's got just an amazing award-winning history in journalism, in different facets of journalism, including radio and obviously television. And he's going to give us an inside view into what that kind of lifestyle is like. Obviously, there's a lot of work behind the glamorous few moments that you have on screen. There's a lot of investigation that has to happen. And he's going to talk about a couple stories that are extremely interesting and have made national news. And so I hope you can stay tuned and join us for these next 3 podcast episodes. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Brian Marshall Podcast. We have an interesting guest today because we flipped the script. WDRB Fox 41 and Richard Essex is here. And I said, why don't you tell us what it's like being you, and we'll interview you. And I think hesitantly, because we bugged him, he said yes, but he's here today to talk about it, and we're glad you're here.
Well, thank you for having me.
And I said, you know, we talk about the passions of life, things that make life interesting. Ryan and I share a lot of interests in music, and we play in a band together. But we just try to encourage people to get off the couch. Don't sit and watch. I shouldn't say don't watch TV, because that would, you might disagree with us in that regard. But try to do something that makes life interesting. As you know, it flies by really fast, and
very fast.
And you can't wait to do it. So start. And
so, getting off the couch.
Yes.
I know we weren't going to start there, but
that's all right.
It's okay.
Yeah, I worked with a guy in Indianapolis for a long time who said if people would just watch local news twice a week and would react to what they see, go to a school board meeting, go to a county council meeting, go to a commissioner's meeting, go to the library board meeting, go to a town hall meeting, things would be a lot different than they are today.
Well, wouldn't they?
If you would just watch local news twice a week, and get off the couch and go do something.
There you go. So
sorry about that.
So I said, interviews about life's passions.
Yeah.
And you know, it's so funny. Ryan and I met at the door of my garage. Richard, because I have a shop that we exactly. I have a shop that if I open the door, people say, when are you open? I said, when I open the door, I'm open. And it might be days, and it might be weeks, and it might be 3 o'clock in the morning. So we go in there and we create things, cars, art, music. It's just...
He says garage. It's basically a studio that can go from like storing all the most amazing cars that you've ever imagined to being a rock band stage to a sound recording stage. And it's not a garage.
So this afternoon, it's music day. So that's what we're going to go do this afternoon. But anyway, the irony of that is that Richard walked by one day and he looked, he goes, what goes on in here? And
like most people, they walk by and they're like, what is going on here?
It's people coming and going, activity. Anyway, so I've met the most interesting people. Some people said, well, how do you meet all these people? I said, we meet at the door of my garage, and then we try to figure out if there's anything we can cooperatively do.
And here we are.
And here we are. Here we are with all 3 of us at
Based
the
on
garage
that
door. See that
garage
theory,
door? Yeah.
Theory works, doesn't
it? It does.
So far, so good. Richard came from Zionsville, Indiana, and I said we had a lot of interaction there as well. I spent a few years as the director of tourism, 4 years exactly, in Indianapolis, down to the Hoosier Dome. My first day of work, I made the news because I was driving to the Hoosier Dome, and on the news it came, the Hoosier Dome has collapsed. And I'm like, I wonder if that's the end of my job. Anyway, it had deflated, and everybody was going for the doors, and I'm like, well, I'm trying to go in, not out. But anyway, there was my welcome to Indianapolis, day one. And
I remember that.
Really?
Yeah.
88 to 91 is when I was there. And
I
whatever.
stood on the south lawn of the State House and watched it inflate, and then I stood on the south lawn of the State House and watched it
deflate.
Yes.
Get blown up. Yeah.
Yeah. And people say, where's the Hoosier Dome? And I said, well, I watched it built and torn down. So that whole facility. But anyway, it's where the Colts played. And if you're from out of town and you watch this, it's the stadium in the middle of downtown Indianapolis. So anyway, I was so interested in some of the subjects that you've covered as an investigative reporter. But first, I want to ask, for those who say, "Wow, I wonder," I think everybody would secretly want to be on TV in some way. Have you found that true? If people,
Somewhat. It used to be a lot easier to
okay,
get people to tell us their story. Used to be a lot easier. It has become increasingly more difficult.
why?
Um,
No
s-
story?
well, some of it is they don't watch. They don't watch local news, or they and everything is political now.
Yeah,
So if you are with network A, B, or C, certain people are not going to talk to you. But if you're
wow.
with network
D.
F, then they will. But and then people that so it goes like that.
Wow.
We
And
try to stay away from those subjects.
yeah,
I'm very passionate about some of those subjects, but I think there's ample coverage on that, don't you? Especially on
there's
podcasts.
enough coverage on that.
So, so I thought, let's try something else. And
Right.
can we have some fun in the meantime before we're, burning down car dealerships or doing things like that for the fun of it? So,
Right.
I just think there's a whole nother side. And as I told you, I said we just don't
I
go
guess
there.
that makes
It's just not.
us part of the solution, not the problem.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what we want.
And the solution, I think, is finding something interesting to do that, that may occupy your time or thoughts or concerns rather than other things.
Right. Right.
I'll leave that alone. But anyway, the whole investigative reporting, I'll go back to that, is really interesting. I mean, you dig into these. Tell
Yeah,
us how.
well, I became an investigative reporter kind of by accident. You come across a story and it all of a sudden it's not just a minute 30 on the evening news. It's really a bigger story.
Yeah.
So you do the first story, and then before you know it, you're getting an email from somebody that it's got a little bit more, and then you start looking, and the next thing you know, you've spent an hour or a year and a half working on a story, which I did on more than one occasion, and you have these fantastic stories. Investigative reporting takes a long time. It's not I'm going to come in the meeting at 9 o'clock and I'm going to put this on TV at 5. Every once in a while that does happen, but very rarely. Usually when you have a story, I've got one that I'm working on now that they approached me in February. But by the time they were able to get somebody to sit down and talk to us, we've done one interview. I've got a bunch of paperwork, but we haven't done the other half of it.
Wow.
So if I'm lucky, it'll make TV by November.
Mm.
So
I'm from Jeffersonville, Indiana. For those of you watching for outside this viewing area of Louisville, Kentucky, I'm right across the bridge. But we have a very famous sheriff or former sheriff over there. Did you cover any of that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Mr. Knoll.
Yeah, Jamie Knoll was the sheriff. Everybody liked the guy, but he decided that several $1 million out of the funds should be his, and he's locked up now.
So State Board of Accounts have the number at maybe $4 million that he absconded with. The judge has ordered him to repay $3.1 million. We think the number's a lot bigger. If you look at every taxing district in Clark County, they've all suffered in some way.
Wow.
They've had to redo their budgets because of the new property tax, SB1 in Indiana has also created some problems. But every taxing district in Clark County has been affected in some way. So we would like to see a story where we're talking to all those people and add up that number. And I think that number is going to be a lot bigger. He may not have directly taken from Greater Clark schools or from, a certain police department, but they've been impacted.
I'm sure. I mean look at that. I mean, he ran the ambulance service out of Utica, Indiana, and the volunteer fire department, along with many other things. He certainly was a busy guy,
And that he created a lot of different entities, and it's very confusing.
Yeah.
You've got the Utica fire, you've got Utica Fire and EMS, and then Utica Township volunteer. He did it on purpose.
Yeah.
I had somebody tell me
Oh,
that was
makes
done
sense.
deliberately
Yeah.
to create that confusion.
Yep.
Because I've been trying to thread that needle through a couple different stories.
Mhm.
Interesting. You know, one I wanted to get into this because I think the public was so interested in it, and that's the Delphi murders.
Yeah.
Delphi, Indiana. I know it went as a nationwide. If those people have not seen it, I mean, look it up. But 2 girls were walking across a railroad track in a park. I don't know, a state park or.
Yeah, it was an old railroad
Trestle.
bridge or
trestle,
yeah.
and in Delphi, Indiana. And it was, I think it's the Monon Bridge Park, and the city had taken it, done a nice job with it. A lot of people on that bridge. So Abby and Libby they were 13 at the time, were on the bridge, and it was the day before Valentine's Day, 6 years ago, if I might.
Okay.
And when somebody went to go pick them up, they weren't there. So people were out searching the neighborhood, friends, and they didn't find him. Next day, they did find him. They found him right in the shadow of the bridge. And matter of fact, they found the girls where people had walked right over, the original search party, which became a problem
Wow.
because the crime scene was so contaminated.
Wow.
And you had Delphi police, you had the Carroll County Sheriff's Department, you had Indiana State Police, and eventually the FBI were brought in. When they started doing DNA testing, a FBI agent's DNA came up in some of the profiles. So the crime scene was contaminated. So that they didn't have a good DNA to start looking for somebody because it was all over the place. And it took them 5 years to come across Richard Allen. And Richard Allen had been interviewed by a park ranger and then by police. And they were going back through those interviews and said, hey, there's something here. That's when they started looking at him. And when they first arrested him, when they made that announcement, it was on Halloween 2-3 years ago. I didn't think that Richard Allen was the guy. It didn't seem like he was the guy.
Wow.
I didn't think so. He worked at a local pharmacy. Seemed like everybody knew the guy. I mean, I tell you, some of these stories, you get into, and you once you start, you're invested in it. You know, Ryan, what I'm.
You can't.
I mean, you can't
not
tune it
have an
out,
answer,
right? You want to see the next. How can this be? Why would this be? The eeriest part of that whole story to me is as these girls were walking across, they saw this guy coming. Do you know this part of the story?
I do.
They saw him coming, and he said, down the bridge or something.
Down the hill.
Down the hill.
Down the hill.
Down the hill. But they got it on their phones.
They
And
had
got
the
a picture of
presence
him
of
coming.
mind
Yes.
to videotape him, and this footage, if you don't know the story, was found on the phone, and my understanding is that was a pivotal piece of information.
It was, and her phone was on before and after. There's actually a big chunk. That 3 seconds was all that state police had let out.
Oh,
And I was at the press conference when they released it, and the guy that they were showing, the guy on the bridge, which was considerably different looking from the first couple of pictures that were released. One was younger, one was older, and it really created a lot of confusion.
I felt the same way too. And he had a kind of kind of walked like an old, like bad hips or something.
Yeah.
I mean, a distinctive walk or gait, and I was shocked when
And there was another character involved in this.
the property owner.
Well, the property owner, Ron Logan, but Kagan Klein, who he was the last person to have contact with these girls on some kind of dating site or something like that.
Oh wow.
I think dating site may be a stretch.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Chat line.
yeah,
Chat room.
and state police found him by going through their computers and their phones, and then he ended up being convicted of 30-some child subduction.
Wow.
And so he was in prison. And he kept telling state police that he knew things about the case and would send them on these wild goose chases. State police spent almost 3 weeks going through the river by Delphi. And I went up there. We counted, they had at least 20 people in the water going through every inch of that, where somebody was supposed to have thrown something over the bridge that was related to the case.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that they never found that.
Mm.
So it looked like that case was just going to go cold until Richard Allen was arrested. And after the trial, and now that all of this paperwork has come out, you can see, okay, yeah, it was Richard Allen, but I'm still not convinced, and a lot of others are not either, that he didn't do it by himself. Because physically, I still don't see how he did what police say was done to those girls in the time frame that he did that. So I think there's still somebody else out there.
There's, as they say, more to the story.
Wow.
I think.
It's been disclosed on the Brian Marshall podcast.
That's right.
Well,
Breaking news.
Yeah.
I've had this discussion and I think there are others who think the same thing. But will state police go out and look for somebody else? I don't think so. I think the case is pretty much done.
Did he ever admit to this, or just? I know he's convicted of it, but did he say, "Yeah, well, that was me"? Or
when he was when he was awaiting trial, he did admit it to his wife, and that conversation was recorded. He admitted it to some people in the prison that he was being held at. He was in the state's mental hospital for criminally insane, Westville Correctional, and which is a really, really rough prison. It's not a rainbows and unicorns, and it's a really, really rough old prison. And his lawyers tried to get him moved out of there because it was, he lost a bunch of weight, and it was a bad area for him. But yeah, so he
well, there was probably a little court, or I was going to say courtyard justice, but right, I mean, they're not going to like.
That's why they had him there, was to
the
keep
prison.
that from happening.
Yes.
Yeah. And now he has been, I believe he's been moved to a prison in Oklahoma. I think that's the latest that. Yeah, I didn't cover the trial, but actually, my old intern she did cover it, and so I followed her through it, and she did a fantastic job covering it.
Do you think he did other things?
Well,
I mean, this seems like an odd thing to do if you hadn't done it before. I mean, I couldn't imagine.
They always say that they don't start with that crime, and there's nothing that says that he's done it before. So,
okay,
I don't know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
While we're on the crime scene stories, Kohlberg, that's Brian Kohlberg out in Idaho. That's another thing that I've continually. I don't know why I mean, there are certain ones that just bounce off me. And why do you hone in on some of it? I think
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I think that's it. Why? You keep waiting for why.
It's like
why would you do that to these girls?
And was he getting his PhD in criminology?
Yes.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Which adds to the what?
To the why.
And a little bit of the drama, because I mean that sounds like a fictional story, right? Of somebody that's dabbles in crime while they're studying it, so that they can become, I don't know what, maybe better at fighting crime. I mean that's a theme that shows up, but it certainly is
the volunteer fire department,
a national level of interest.
The volunteer fire department person who sets the fire so he can put it out.
Well, that happened with the Belle of Louisville, right here on the river. It was,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he got pulled over in Indianapolis, or actually I think it was in Hendricks County, or it was the county west of Indianapolis.
I think that's probably Hendricks County.
Yeah. Well,
on 70.
Hancock County. Hendricks County is on the west. It was on the east. And he was pulled over twice within that county. And nobody realized that's who he was until the next day.
Really? Because I thought I thought they were sending a message to him that, I thought they were going to say, were his hands beat up? Was he nervous? Well, I mean, because it seemed like they were hot on his trail by that point.
So nobody from police ever said,
Yeah.
admitted.
Well, right.
Yeah. That
We just happened to pull him over twice.
Right. Yeah.
And here's where he's going next, because here's what he said we'll follow. I don't know. But that's another thing. I mean, what in the world? Why would you pick those people? Which there didn't seem to be any connection. I mean, just...
Yeah, and he didn't say anything in court when he was sentenced.
Everything he did say was the oddest thing. I watched the 2-minute, again, I love these shorts because I can watch 25 subjects in 30 minutes.
Right.
And bang, 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 the subjects come up. But he's like, did you do it? And he was so matter of fact, yes. Did you kill these? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you realize you're going to go to jail? Yes. I mean, wow. I mean.
But no details.
And no why, where's the murder weapon, all that stuff. It's just crazy. And it frightens you to think that there are people randomly roaming around that are capable.
I think you're onto something there. I think that idea that there are people out there that have that approach to whatever life, and who knows, I guess people ask themselves, like, when do I come across those individuals in my life?
Or have I? Yeah, exactly.
Or have I? And
right.
And I think that fascinates a lot of viewers.
Well, and I read something recently about how many serial killers you will come across in your life.
Okay.
That either before they've done it or while they're in the process of doing it or after they've done it. And the number was more than like 3 or 4.
Oh my.
You
Wow.
actually come in contact with. Now, you may not know who they are.
This is the Kevin Bacon syndrome.
the 6 degrees.
6 degree,
Yeah.
separation. Yeah.
But you think about that. There are people out there that are actively serial killers.
Yeah.
Right now, and they're walking the streets of Louisville. They're walking the streets of Cincinnati, Lexington, everywhere.
It's incredible.
You've left me a little speechless here.
I know.
I have not heard that.
He's going through his
statistic,
roll.
Yeah.
Well, I'm old enough to have a Rolodex, but flipping through my Rolodex, I still have all the business cards I've ever had in my life.